tell you what.
All right. What's up, everyone? We're back with the Retic Lounge and back in full force with our lovely co-host, Lucas Bagnara.
What's going on, man?
Dude, it's been lonely.
It's been a month. I know. It's been a while.
How's the new baby?
New baby's doing great. The Retic Lounge has been doing great. You've been holding down the fort. Episodes were good.
Yeah, they are fun.
I'm looking forward to be back. Yeah, and just we're jumping right back into kind of like my favorite series we've been doing for a while, but we're going to do another book club episode of the complete reticulated python. But I don't know, are we going to get through the rest of the morph chapter today, or are we going to have to break it into three parts?
3 or 4.
Yeah, there's a lot.
This chapter is so dense, and I think we're going to dive into just one aspect of morphs this week, and it's diving into the most confusing and probably talked about morphs in the retic world, and just because it's the first recessive we got our hands on, albinos.
Yeah, so I think today we're going to mostly probably focus on all the different albinos, right?
Yeah. I mean, history, genetics, and then all the naming drama that goes down with it.
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited for that. But before we even jump into this, Nathan, we haven't talked shop in like a month. Anything going on with you with snakes, retics, plans?
I'm down to one of my 2023 productions left. Major procrastination on my part in getting those last couple sold, but I was just enjoying them. And I arguably sold and shipped off today my favorite of the two, the little purple tiger female. Just going out to, luckily, one of our Patreon members, a police officer out in Indiana, and I just think he's going to give it a pretty good home. So I'm excited for him to get it, but I have that, like, you know, I'm at the hobbyist level. I'm not sending a ton of snakes out, so I still get that giant pit in my stomach every time I do it. So
I do too. As a matter of fact, last week was the first time ever in 5 years of sending animals out, was the first time I have ever had one of my animals get stuck and delayed a whole day.
How have I had that experience before you?
Yeah, no, it was my first time and probably close to like my 200th retic that I've sent, and it happened.
No, what's nice though is this one's going to Indiana, so it's like where one of the hubs are.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about any delays.
Yeah.
Did get there like right in the nick of time to ship it out, so that was a little nerve-wracking as well.
We do that
every stress.
Yeah, we do that every night here, typically because when I send out animals, the temperature is generally hot here and cold elsewhere, and I have to put a heat pack and a phase pack in, and so I don't like I like to drop them off literally like within a few minutes of them closing.
Yep, well, that was the way I ran it today. I mean, in the past, I used to have a crazy work schedule. Now I'm down to 4 days a week, so I can, I have Wednesdays off, so that's just my shipping day from here on out.
With the free time, you doing any pairings this year?
I need to talk to you, talk to probably Eric, and just kind of weigh my options. I want to do a pairing later this year. I also want to go to Indonesia later this year, so I don't know how that's going to factor into everything.
I think I can go with you probably next year though.
Okay.
If we were to plan way ahead of time and like get everything that we need to, we could do next year.
Fair enough.
I can't do it.
I still might go this year.
If you do it, go for it. Let me know how it is, depending on how many like worms you have inside of you when you get back.
see if I'll actually want to make the trip back.
Right. No, I would love to go to Indonesia. I also want to go to the Amazon, and that seems pretty accessible as well. But yeah, and then if you want to do some pairings this year, let me know. I got a lot of nice males I'm willing to send out.
Oh yeah, like I need more over here. Let's see. I mean, definitely want to try something maybe with the Annery girl.
Hmm.
I could run the purple girl again. It's been a couple years since she's bred. There's, I have the Golden Child Platinum Sun Tiger stuff that's all het snow that would be cool to run to her just to, you know, I would get snows.
Right.
That would be a fun one to run to the purple head Annery.
Right.
You could potentially do the same thing with the Annery girl, but that's contingent on the proving out of her being het purple.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's still worth doing the pairing to see if that happens. I'm finding myself at a crossroads where I'm gonna end up, in the future probably producing some cows. So hear me out on this. This was kind of unexpected.
okay.
But I reached out to Chris McVicker, who just hatched out amazing 75% Superdor Phantoms.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, I saw those.
yeah, and I just produced 50% Solayer OGS or Sun Tigers double het OGS purples, right? And so I just reach out to him and I'm like, hey, are you keeping back any of those animals? Do you want to do anything? And then Chris, just being a good dude, he's like, no, I'm not holding anything back. He's like, but if you want a male phantom, it's yours. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, yeah, if you want to take it, produce what you want with it, and we'll talk about the details later.
Damn it, Lucas. Make some cows that I actually might want to buy, but no, I need to make my own.
They'd be 37.5% Superdorf, 25% Solayer. So we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, a little too much Solayer influence.
Whether you've poured your heart and soul into your reptile business or you've just begun your business journey, AE Foundry has you covered with next level expertise in graphic design, motion graphics, videography, photography, and so much more. If you've been dying for a new logo for your reptile business, motion graphics for your current logo, a new website, or need assistance making your video podcast come to life, then listen carefully. AE Foundry's mission places storytelling at its core. AE Foundry believes that a distinctive story and background are the driving forces that set your brand apart. In today's market, consumers seek more than just products. They crave a connection built on trust with the brands they cherish. AE Foundry is committed to empowering small businesses and fostering authenticity that resonates with their consumers. Reach out to them and let them help you craft a visual narrative that helps establish a genuine and lasting connection with your audience. To contact AE Foundry, email them at aromero@aefoundry.com or on Instagram at AE Foundry. When it comes to housing your retics, trust me, you're going to want an enclosure that will be just as strong and durable as your reticulated python. The Heartland Reptile Enclosure is next level tough and will outlive you and your retic by several generations. Heartland Reptile Enclosures are designed and manufactured out of powder-coated aluminum to provide the highest quality and longevity available in the reptile enclosure. What makes them even better is they are lighter than your PVC and plastic enclosures out there and are extremely tough. Stop playing around with plastic enclosures for your large constrictors and step up your enclosure game with the Heartland Reptile Enclosure. To inquire about one of these enclosures, speak to Jordan himself at Heartland Reptiles on Instagram, Facebook, and on TikTok. Here on TRL, we preach about the importance of using hooks, feeding tongs, and other tools with your reticulated python all the time. Animal Equipment by Stoney not only has all the tools you need for any snake you keep, but they have the absolute best hooks on the market. What sets Animal Equipment by Stoney's hooks apart from the other guys is their polycarbonate hook ends that provide a warm feel that won't disturb or bother your retic, ensuring a positive interaction from the get-go. Since 2008, AE Stoney has been supplying zoos, herpetologists, and other animal professionals with their tools. It's time for you to step your hook game up and buy an AE Stoney hook. To learn more and purchase one of their amazing products, visit aestoney.com. Yeah, I agree. And then I think that, you get the cow visual right? And then you take that to a pure Superdwarf, and then you create, what would it be, 130. So it would then be 12.5% Solaire and 62.875 maybe percent, so something crazy like that. So the second generation of that is where we really start to see some good shrinkage. But yeah,
Shrinkage.
yeah, shrinkage. I gotta give James a shout out for that. James was like, "Hey, talk to Chris." He's like,
I want to watch Seinfeld all of a sudden. The water's just cold.
shrinkage.
Let's see. What else could I run? I mean, I'm not going to repeat, even though it was 2 years ago, I'm not going to repeat the Phantom pairing. Still very much looking to ship off the male 62.5% Phantom Boy.
Wait, you still have a Phantom Boy available?
Yeah, 62.5% Kalatoa.
Jeez. Wait, no, hold on. From your last clutch?
No. This is the male I used for the last clutch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, wait, what? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so if anyone's looking for a 62.5% Superdor Phantom proven breeder.
Yeah, give me my next challenge in shipping off arguably the biggest snake I've ever had to ship. So
Yeah.
that would be fun.
I would definitely advise if it's a, if it's a big box, it's going to cost you a lot of money through FedEx, try Delta.
I don't think it's going to be that big. I mean,
okay.
he's still pretty compact.
Okay,
But
fair.
yeah, he's probably 6.5 foot, maybe.
Okay. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to see, but did you see any of the videos and pictures of the Sun Tiger OGS or Sun Tiger Hogs? Dude, I haven't offered them their first meal yet. I'm going to tomorrow or Friday. I cannot wait to see these animals grow. The head OGS influence was pretty insane. I wasn't expecting it to be that influential.
Yeah, I need to take a second look at them because I saw them like right out of the egg, and I haven't been like looking at updates. But yeah, post them up.
Yeah, they're I think I have one recent reel after shed that I posted, but yeah, I like how they came out. Really happy with the clutch, and yeah, I think out of the 24 there were, so it was crazy because I thought I was taking a Sun Tiger OGS purple, and it actually proved to be a super Sun.
Oh yeah,
tiger.
I saw that. Yeah.
So I don't have a single normal in the clutch. They're all Sunfires, and then I have like 8, I think, Sun Tigers.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of bummed. Yeah, I mean, it kind of bummed me out though because I was really wanting like normal tigers without any Sunfire.
And some just normal hogs.
Yeah.
I feel like I just saw that you hatched something else out too, or had a clutch laid.
Yeah, my Mindanao female, she laid a clutch of 15 eggs, big ass eggs. And we'll see if it's apart though. We'll see if the ocelot got her.
And then I think the pairing I'm probably most excited about is that I'm gonna screw up the locality because I'm not the locality guy.
It's your favorite one that Phil has.
What? My favorite one, that the Golden Child?
No. You're talking about my pairing that I'm doing?
With the really dark one.
Yeah.
To the pure Superdor.
Yeah, I'm saying your favorite locality, one that Phil has.
Oh, that's the
Halmahera.
Oh, the Halms, yeah.
Yeah. I sent my male Halma to Chris Hokie, who has a beautiful TK Superdor female. And yeah, they're paired up right now. Everything is looking good.
I mean, maybe it's just because he's in breeding mode, but he didn't look like as much of a psychopath as the Halms that I'm used to seeing.
No, both of mine are really chill. I mean, you open the tub and they want food, but as soon as you tap them, you can grab them. Okay. Yeah, I really like my Halmas. They're sweethearts.
Just how dark he is insane. Like that, I'm excited to see what that into a pure SD is. It's a TK line, right?
Yeah, TK Superdor female. So yeah, hopefully if we hit on it, it'll be the first Superdor Halmahera crosses, and yeah, they'll be available through Live Exotics. So
that's something I could see maybe
that's my favorite pairing of the Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my favorite pairing that I'm doing this year, and it's with Chris. I'm really excited. Chris posted his female that she was cycling and was kind of asking opinions on what he should pair to her, and I hit him up and I was like, "Hey, you want me to send you my Helma mail?" He's like, "Yes."
Wait, McVicker?
No, Hokie.
Oh, Hokie. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right. I was like, I didn't think it was McVicker.
no, Chris Hokie with Constrictor Cove.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how those turn out, and he better do his job. I don't know if there's any updates there, but
We'll see. All right, Nate, you ready to jump in?
yeah. I think this is one that we are probably the most nervous for because we're like, this is confusing even to us, but I think we got it broken down enough
good.
now to where we won't stumble so hardly through
Yeah.
trying to just have the listeners be able to understand albino and all of the different lines and how they kind of play with each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one now.
Yeah. What was crazy and what struck me a lot is going into the history is how much the animals were the value that they were provided in the book, and how much some of them cost. So on page 250, it says it there. But basically, on page 249 is where we're starting with the albino. If you guys want to check out the previous morphs that we did, look at the other episode of the book club that we did. But essentially, on page 249 and 250, it talks about the first albino reticulated pythons being imported to the U.S., and they were brought by, of course, Bob Clark, and that was in 1994.
Yeah, so turning back to base morphs, the first albino reticulated python was a male imported by Bob Clark in April 1994 through Malaysia via the notorious lizard king Anson Wong. So, again, if you want to look into Bob Clark and his history with the lizard king, read the
Infamous
Lizard
smuggler.
King. Yeah, I mean, probably Malaysia's biggest reptile smuggler of all time. I mean, so many articles written about him. He's just notorious. So I've said it before. I'll say it again. Pick up the Lizard King.
Must read. Honestly, after we're done with this book, we'll take a break from book clubs, but we should jump into that book.
I would love to.
Yeah, let's do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be fun.
But yeah, so at the time, it was a 9-foot snake. It was captured, what was then Burma and now Myanmar. So for the first 2 years, the snake was in captivity. The imported male struggled to adapt to new settings. He hardly ate, and at one point had to be force fed for nearly a year. It was when the albino. Hold on. Pause real quick. Force feeding an 8-foot snake. Just picture that.
No, thank you.
Yeah. We're going to hear a little bit more. We're going to have a guest on that is hopefully going to produce a new morph in the U.S. and he talks about the struggle of getting the last female established and like finally able to breed by force feeding pigs. So wild.
Yeah, I'll do it for a baby once or twice, but
Exactly.
no, thank you.
So that was in 94, took a couple years. So we're talking about 96. It wasn't until 99 that Bob Clark produced the first captive born and bred albino reticulated pythons, dubbing them the Clark Strain Albino. So, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about this, but there are 3 different phases of Clark Strain Albino. There's white phase, purple phase, and lavender phase. Pop quiz, Nathan. Do you remember which phase was imported?
Yeah, it was lavender. Yeah, lavender.
Yeah, lavender.
Yeah, we were lucky in that fact because then we got both white phase and purple from that. Otherwise, we would have been stuck.
Yeah, if we only got a white phase in, like the white phase that was caught in Philippine, and we'll talk about that again. If we took it to other animals, we only would have produced white phases. If there was only a purple, it would have been the same thing. It was just the luck of the draw that we happened to import a lavender.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Clark Strain Albino is also an allelic series, just like the previous morphs that we talked about in the last episode of the book club, which is Bacan, Phantom Stripe, Orange Ghost Stripe, and Teak. So 3 different color phases can be produced from the Clark strain, and those were the 3 that we just mentioned.
Yep, lavender, purple, and white phase.
Do you have a favorite out of the three?
Uh, I think my love really with just retics in general came from a purple albino. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say purple, but a really nice white phase, like
Oof.
it's great. Like just that good contrast.
That
Like
it's like the classic typical albino, right? That people think of, like the albino berms, right? And um yeah, I think that there are some white albinos that like when you put motley into white albino, it's mind blowing. But we haven't talked about motley yet, so we'll stay away from that.
yes, stop jumping ahead, Lucas.
Um
Let's see where are we
yeah.
at?
So let me talk. Yeah, so we're at a lavender face Clark Strain Albino.
Uh, is a compound heterozygote of the purple and white phases bred together. Both purple phase Clark strain of a oh wait, both purple phase Clark strain albino and white phase Clark strain albino have different mutant alleles of a gene, and when they are bred together, they produce a compound heterozygous lavender phase. It was kismet that the original wild collected animal was a lavender phase. Because of that, the nature of that phase, white phase and purple phase were also possible, like we had talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
Had the original been a white or purple phase, whichever phase was present would have been the only known phase in Clark strain albinos instead of the current three. So yeah, I mean, talk about just hitting the jackpot in alleles. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Every single Clark Strain Albino, so all three phases can be traced back just to that single male. So we did not import another of those animals. So literally we just got super lucky, right? And now that we can't import anything, the US is like the most unlucky country when it comes to retics, but like that was the one thing that we hit the jackpot on.
We also want to thank VivTech Products for being an affiliate sponsor of the Retic Lounge. Stop by VivTech Products for the best UV spectrum lighting on the market that will enhance and improve your snake's overall well-being and health. Visit vivtechproducts.com and use the code ReticLounge23 today for 15% off. Again, visit vivtechproducts.com and use our affiliate code ReticLounge23 today for 15% off.
Looking for the perfect accessories for your hatchlings or juvenile retics? Look no further than Heli Guy Serpents. Our sponsor, Chris Sexton, is coming in hot with an amazing 3D printer, creating top-notch perches and other caging accessories for your beloved pets. Enrich your retics environment with their high-quality products. Use our promo code TRL10 for a 10% discount on your purchase. Visit them today at heliguyserpents.com and start giving your pets the best. Heli Guy Serpents, the premier source for 3D printed caging accessories. Again, that's www.heliguyserpents.com and use our promo code TRL10 for 10% off all of your 3D printed accessories today.
There's now correct me if I'm wrong. There's never been another lavender shipped over.
Not imported, I don't believe.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I mean, with how long importation was open,
yeah,
you would have hoped almost that another lavender.
But no, we have just that was literally every single albino that we have in our country stems from this animal.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, so it says there all Clark strain albinos in captivity in the U.S. can be traced back to the original Burmese import. So prior to the lavender phase Clark strain albino being imported into the U.S., a deceased 15-foot albino reticulated python was found in the jungle of central Sarawak, Malaysia, and recorded in a local newspaper. In addition, both Peter Cow and Kevin McCurley independently imported albino pythons from peninsular Malaysia, though it is unclear if they were found there or it was simply the location they were exported from. Even with these two other forms of albino, Bob Clark's became the mainstays of albino reticulated pythons.
Peter Call's imported albino Amelia became the foundation for the Amelanistic morph in captivity. Rip Dwit. This is kind of what
that took me a bit.
This is kind of what Lucas was alluding to earlier. Call paid the immense sum of $85,000 for her back in 1996. So that's equivalent to about $165,000 today.
Yeah.
So we want to argue about how high Retic prices are.
You guys want to complain that you're spending $12,000 on an ocelot?
Yeah, that's chump change back in these days when you were really trying to get new stuff in.
Right.
3 years later, Call bred Amelia to a tiger reticulated python from Al and Cindy Baldago to make heterozygous amelanistics, and tigers heterozygous for amelanistic.
Yep.
To make heterozygous amelanistics and tigers heterozygous for wait. Blah, blah, blah. I just read that. In 2000.
In 2000, Amelia was sent to the Baldogos in a breeding partnership. So again, if you're not following, Amelia was the imported amel. So the Baldogos acquired her in a breeding partnership where she was bred to a super tiger and produced 30 tigers heterozygous for amelanistic. Heterozygous amelanistic reticulated pythons have been seen to have an overall darker coloration compared to their non-heterozygous counterpart. 3 years later, the Baldogos bred 2 tigers that were heterozygous for amel and produced the first amel in captivity, one of which eventually became the largest albino snake in captivity, and that is Fluffy. Did you know that? That Fluffy stemmed from that clutch?
I didn't. I knew that was the one that Jay had, but
yeah, so Fluffy,
I didn't know that until reading the book.
Yeah, and I actually, but before Jay had Fluffy, I believe that Fluffy was in the possession of Aubrey and Samson Pruitt at one point.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Something came over me.
So yeah, after the clutch was hatched, Slither Inc. purchased all the progeny for $10,000. Eventually, the amelanistic made it to prehistoric pets where it was renamed. Oh, Twinkie, not Fluffy.
Yeah, I was going to say Fluffy doesn't sound right.
No, Twinkie. Whoops. So yeah, if you ask me what my favorite strain of albino is, just visually, not from a breeding perspective, right? Because I think that there's like all the T positive type of albinos, like Indo Caramel and purple, like those are T positives. I think that they can produce cooler morph combinations. But for me, nothing beats an amel. Just I don't know why. I love when they're older, they're like 80% white, 20% yellow, and they have those like ruby red. Just their eyes are way different than the other strains.
Yeah, I don't think I've been able to see an amel in person, so I think that's where my disconnect is there.
Yeah, I'm surprised Dwick isn't on here, but Dwick's in other parts of the book. So, but yeah, I really do like, and a lot of people get amel and white phase confused.
That's where my disconnect is. And maybe it's just like always seeing pictures of younger animals.
Yeah.
But I feel like, especially when they're younger, it's really hard to tell the two apart, but unless you know what the breeding was.
Right. I think for me, the biggest difference with babies is that white albinos have a lot more orange.
Okay. More yellow on amel.
Yeah. So like if you look at the top of page 252, the very top picture, white face Clark Strain Albino, look at all of the orange on the side banding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's generally the biggest marker for me that I'm able to tell the difference between the two. And then also if you look at their eyes. But yeah, let's continue and dive into this because I'm excited to talk about other strands of albino, but take us away at the top of 253.
Yeah, so soon after Clark Strain Albino was proven heritable, Clark bred the original wild collected male into pure Jampea types and superdwarfs. As such, albino was the first non-naturally occurring mutation introduced into MR Jampeanus. Since that introduction in the early 2000s, the addition of non-naturally occurring morphs into insular populations has remained widespread to reduce their body size while maintaining the larger snake's phenotype.
Yeah. Also, let me just kind of remind people. So we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about different types of albinos, and just like in the hobby back in the day, they were referred to like type by number. So technically Clark Strain would be like type 1, type 2 is amelanistic, and type 3 we're about to jump into, that's sharp strain albino. So The albino reticulated python complex is complex. You see what he did there? I mean, it's just the English language is a funny thing.
But really, I mean, that's why we were kind of nervous taking on this episode. We were like, are we going to have Glenn to like really break this down? And
we tried
now we just need to take a minute and break it down ourselves.
Yeah. So in total, 14 known forms of heritable albinism in reticulated pythons. So Nathan, why don't you read all 14?
Yeah, the heritable albinism reticulated pythons are amelanistic or type 2 albino, blonde albino, falsham caramel albino, honey blast or toffee, indo caramel, lavender phase albino.
Albino. You said that like with some like that was some Louisiana twang right there. It's
some albino. Mocha purple, Retic ghost, Sharp Strain Albino, Waine/Calico Line Albino, Type 3 Albino, and White Phase Albino. Tyranase positive, T+, and Tyranase negative or T- are often used to describe the aforementioned forms of albinism.
Right. You know what's cool is it mentions Retic ghost on there as a form of albinism. A lot of people had an idea that Retic ghost was hypomelanistic. We found out through the episode that we talked to someone that blue hypo and Retic ghosts are not compatible. But even then, a blue hypo might not even be a true hypo, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, so T positive, T negative, right? That's what we know as, for me, T positive are the ones that have purples and orange and they're brighter. T negatives are the white and yellow ones. That's kind of the way that I've been able to remember that. But yeah, tyranase, what is it? Tyrosinase?
Tyrosinase?
Whatever. I feel like an idiot. I should know that word. So
today, no study has been done in reticulated pythons examining the presence or lack thereof of tyrosinase in any of the species forms of albinism. Without that information, any designation of an albino as T+ or T negative is hyperbolic in nature.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I said like what helps me distinguish T positive, T negative is just by visual look. It's not scientific. Like if you look at corn snakes and some other species, they've studied and been able to see what is T negative and T positive from a scientific level. But because retics are hated for some reason by the scientific community, no studies have been done on them.
I think it's I mean
we should hit totally just
this is just me guessing, but I would imagine that most people studying genetics like that don't see a point in having to work with a larger animal or have an aversion to working with a larger animal.
Yeah, you know, I never even thought to speak with Rare Genetics on the idea of that and what would be needed. But, you know, if Rare Genetics is able to confirm morph differences.
Probably scale clippings, I would imagine.
Scale clippings, blood, they'd be able to do it. I think blood would probably be the easiest way. But yeah, I mean, they can, I think, you know, I'm not a molecular biologist or even just, you know, whatever is needed for that. But what I can say is that I feel like enough studies have been done to understand T positive and T negative that it shouldn't be that difficult to do.
Yeah. I think this part of the chapter is where it gets really confusing for me.
The combinations, right?
Yeah. So what's incompatible with each other? So likewise, the compatibility of the differing forms of albinism with each other is complex. It is important to note that only some combinations of every phase of albino have been done in captivity. Therefore, there is an incomplete understanding of the albino reticulated python complex. Where captive breedings of different strains to one another have occurred and whose results have been made public, their respective compatibility will be noted.
Right. So it's still incomplete, hence the omission of compatibility of every strain with others. So basically, Glenn is just like doing a CYA here and saying like, I'm only going to present what we know of, and there's still a lot of information that we don't know yet.
I'm going to have you read 255, and then I'm going to put it in layman's terms for just make it easier. So I feel like this is where I started to be like Zach Galifianakis in that poker movie. I was like,
Yes.
what's happening?
What's it just looking around? All right. So when a purple phase albino is bred to a white phase albino, the resulting progeny are lavender phase. So remember, lavender was the one that was imported. It's kind of the middle in between the two. But anyways, I'll continue. A lavender phase bred to a lavender phase produces more lavender phases, white phase, and purple phase albinos. So any phase of Clark Strain Albino bred to an Indo-Caramel is called an orange glow. Any phase of Clark Strain Albino bred to a Mocha is a Mochino. So an Indo-Caramel bred to a Mocha is a Mocha Mel. A Falsham caramel bred to a white phase albino is called a coral. A Falsham caramel bred to a purple phase albino is called an Amaretto. A Falsham caramel bred to a lavender phase albino produces amarettos and corals. A Falsham caramel bred to a Mocha produces Falsham caramel mocha. A blonde albino bred to an Amelanistic is called Rhapsody. Retic ghost is incompatible with any form of albino and reticulated pythons. Clark Strain Albino, Falsham caramel, Indo-Caramel, and Mocha are incompatible with type 2 or type 3. So again, that's Amelanistic and Sharp Strain. Blonde albino is not compatible with Clark Strain Albino. Sharp Strain albinos are not compatible with Clark Strain albinos. Honey Blast albinos are known to be incompatible with Clark Strain Albino and Falsham caramel. Oof.
Yeah. So
Glenn just like laid it all out.
Incompatible with Clark, just so you have a list, is going to be Amelanistic, the type 2 Peter Call, Sharp Strain Albino, Retic Ghost, Blonde, Mocha, Indo Caramel, Falsham Caramel, and the Waine Line Albino.
Yeah. So real quick, Clark Strain is compatible with Mocha. Clark Strain is compatible with Indo Caramels. And that's where like people start to make up names for the combinations because the compatibility creates a different visual albino. It creates, you have basically the way that I understand it is that you have an allele from one, allele from another, and they're being shown on the same point in the Punnett square. I don't know how to explain that any more accurate, but that's just, again, this is my brain. That's how it works. But so orange glow again is when you take a Indo-Caramel and you take it to a Clark Strain. Mochino is when you take a Clark Strain and you take it to a Mocha. By the way, unpopular opinion, a Mocha is 20 times better looking than a Mochino. I don't know why. I like that. I like the like smooth, creamy tan colors of the Mocha.
Okay. Yeah, I need to look into them more. That's not something I've really, played around with too much in terms of like adding to my collection. There was brief talks about doing a Mochino project, but I didn't feel passionately enough quite yet.
And a lot of people are obsessing over orange glows right now, and I love the orange glows that are being produced. Jennifer and Eric Lee had a beautiful clutch.
Those were amazing.
I think if you produce orange glows, you're doing great. I feel like when you buy an orange glow and then you take it to a purple or an Indo-Caramel and you have to mess with that, like they're either het purple or het Indo-Caramel. I'm like, I don't want to produce that.
Yeah, that was my holdup.
Right.
That was my holdup when I got brought the opportunity to do it. I was like, I don't know that's like, I don't know, worth it for me.
No, it's
worth the efforts for me.
Yeah, it's just like, anytime that I see an animal listed of het albino or het purple / Indo, and it's like, it's a turnoff. I don't like it. But what I will say is I've almost wanted to get a Mocha mainland and take that Mocha mainland into my Ternate stuff and start to then take it into Calato. But like, I really, really like Mocha. And I feel like everyone who has a Mocha is just trying to make Mochinos.
Yeah.
And that frustrates me because I feel like people really need to like, someone please specialize in Mocha. Do it. I feel like Mocha can be a really awesome animal, but everyone's like, let me take it to a purple.
Is there anyone you know of that's really heavily into the Mocha stuff?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I know like maybe 2 people that have a Mocha.
That's wild.
Yeah, right? Like it blows my mind.
The
all
two Falsham combinations, just for the people wondering, are the white Clark to Falsham produces coral, and then the purple Clark to Falsham produces Amaretto. And then the last that we haven't really talked about, the Mocamel.
Yeah, the Mochamel.
Mocamel. I was
Yeah, so it's a Mocha and an Indo caramel. Mochamel.
So Mocha to Indo caramel, and then Rhapsody, which you don't see a ton of, blonde to Amelanistic.
Everybody. So Rhapsody was. Can I talk shit a little bit?
The floor is yours.
Okay. So Rhapsody was discovered, I believe, by Samson Pruitt. And we all know that he's a piece of shit. What's funny is that everybody who purchased a Rhapsody that I know off of him, those Rhapsodies always had issues, whether it was respiratory, face pushing, like they didn't thrive well. And so I'm wondering, is that because
did that come from the breeding, or did that come from the terrible conditions at Slithering?
Exactly. And that's kind of why I was shit talking, because like now, before when this was happening and people bought them and were telling me, I was like, oh, it's probably an incompatibility. Like they're compatible, but like they don't produce offspring that thrive. But after the Slither files came out, it might just be because those animals were just ridden with viral infections.
Yeah, just disease.
Yeah.
If you're unclear of who Slither Inc. is or who Samson Pruitt is, if you're new to the Retic world, I do urge you to go to samsonpruitt.com or just Google the name Samson Pruitt. Follow the link.
It'll come up.
Educate yourself.
We have a live episode as well in our live link tab that we kind of like break a lot of the information and talk about how I obtained the information, all that good stuff. But yeah, stay away from Slither and anybody that associates with them. All right, let's jump into the bottom of 255. So the various forms of albinos have been found multiple times in the wild. Ready?
Yep.
Blonde albino, a melanistic type 2. Type 3 albinos are from Malaysia. Wild collector. Oh, I went to the next page where the pictures are. See, look. Okay, go to the top of 256 real quick.
Yep.
Look at that freaking. Look at the male back there. That was a wild collected Mocha. Look how good Mocha looks.
I mean, it's a really old picture, so not the best color representations, but I mean, the silvers and the purples, especially with how dark the purples are on a Mocha, are pretty impressive.
Yeah, one thing that I do like a lot on the bottom of page 258 is that white phase that was caught in the Philippines. That snake is awesome. Okay, so let's go to the bottom of 261 to continue what I was talking about. So type 1 albinos have been found again. So type 1 are Clark strains. So type 1 albinos have been found in Perak and Johor, Malaysia. Several amelanistic type 2 reticulated pythons have been found in Kelantan, Malaysia. In 2014, a white phase-like reticulated python was found in Batangas, Luzon, Philippines, under a pile of roofing tin. Other white albino animals have been found in in Sumatra. In recent years, one of which was proven to be compatible with Clark strain. Some of these animals may have been type 3 albinos, which are not compatible with Clark strain albinos. All right. Continuing on, the original Borneo wild-caught Falsham caramel was imported into the UK by Peter Falsham. And by the way, I'm saying Falsham incorrectly, so I apologize, Peter.
Wait, how is it pronounced?
If I knew, I'd be pronouncing it that way.
Okay.
But yeah, he got that animal in 2002. It was imported into the UK, and by the way, we don't have Falsham albinos in the US. So So further examples of the original Indo caramel was found in Lupang, Sumatra. Further examples of caramel albinos have been found in Luzon, Philippines. Mocha has been found in West Java, Sumatra, Panay Island, and the Philippines, or in the Philippines. And unfortunately, the sharp strain albino was not imported with any locality information. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Also, one of the best snakes ever produced, best retics, is that freaking Mochino anthrax on 262.
I mean, anthrax is just special. One day when the right breeding, right opportunity comes my way.
Hold on, we're gonna see if I can. Yeah, there we go. That's a goodie.
Yeah. Purchase the book. It's so much better to see in person than Lucas trying to adjust his camera on the podcast. I promise you.
Right. What did you before reading this chapter and before doing the outline that you did, which was beautiful, by the way? What did you know about citrus?
Nothing.
Yeah, I'd heard of it before, but
Knew it was a lemony looking snake.
yeah. So basically, it originated from a platinum fire-like animal from Nerd. It's probably polygenic. So treat it like a bloodline, not a gene. Most citrus combos today are visual but genetically unclear. Yeah, so it was combined with Clark Strain, where almost all citrus combinations are found today. With successive generations of breeding, the color and pattern altering effects seen from the original citrus have decreased. So essentially, just like with any good project that we see in Retics, it starts off on a really good note, and then 10 years later ends up to where no one can find good quality examples of it anymore.
Yeah. Going forward, it says it would be best to consider citrus a lineage like the ivy line over a traditional morph due to its likelihood of being a non-Mendelian trait that is increasingly difficult to visually separate from non-citrus animals.
Yeah. Ooh, next page, we talk about ghosts, which is probably my second favorite form of albino. On the top left was a ghost that I had produced by Travis Warren. But man, look at that freaking head.
Bone white.
Bone white. I love freaking ghosts. Ghosts are so beautiful. All right, take us into ghosts.
Yeah, the original male ghost was found in Medan City in North Sumatra. This morph would eventually be renamed Retic Ghost in honor of the late great Ben Retic, the forefather of the mutation. Though Renic's life was tragically taken too soon, and if you would like to hear a little bit about that, we also did an episode there.
Nice
His
plug.
legacy in herpetoculture lives on through his work and those who have continued it with reticulated pythons, ball pythons, and most notably the Retic ghost mutation. Go to Travis Warren's page. Just peruse through there. I mean, just really, if we're talking about continuing Ben's legacy in Retic Ghost, that's the man to look at.
Yeah.
A further example of Retic Ghost has been found in Riau, Sumatra. I'm probably butchering that. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's okay. Yeah, I think Retic ghosts are some of the most slept on albinos. But what I will add about Retic ghost, I've talked to Gabriel, I've talked to Aaron, I've talked to Travis. For some reason, when you produce Retic ghosts, a lot of the visual Retic ghosts, they die within 24 hours after leaving the egg. Yeah, Retic ghosts.
That was something I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, Retic ghosts are not easy to produce, which is why you don't see a lot of people producing them. I've known a lot of people that get into Retic ghosts, try to produce a few clutches, and then move animals out. So Retic ghost is just one of those albinos that's not straightforward. For some reason, just it's hard to get, I think if people produced if people took a Retic ghost to a Retic ghost, I bet like 70% of the clutch wouldn't be alive.
Yeah. Any hints on what the? Okay.
Yeah, no, I've talked to everybody and people say
It's not like a hard belly thing. It's not.
Nope. No hard belly. People have said like, hey, process of elimination. Like I've changed incubations. I've changed the incubation temperatures. Like a lot of people have tried playing with it, but for some reason, just it hasn't had an influence.
Okay. Yeah, that's not something I was aware of.
Yeah. Okay. So, Honey Blast. Again, something that I've heard of, not that I know too much about.
Mm-hmm.
So Honey Blast, the locality information's unknown, which sucks. Which was uncommon for snakes imported by Peter Falsham. The wild collected male was imported alongside two other T positive albino reticulated pythons, one of which later became known as the Falsham caramel. A common source of confusion regarding Honey Blast is that another mutation, Toffee, shares the same phenotype. In reality, Toffee is simply another name for Honey Blast. A specific F1 Honey Blast produced by Stuart Craig Waine was bred into Dwarf and Superdwarfs, where they were renamed to Toffee by an unnamed breeder. The Honey Blast in their mainland form continued the mutation's name. That's silly. I don't know why. That's silly. That's just I don't know why people change names on shit.
People love to take credit. And, people want to make a legacy, especially within animals. And that's why you get a little bit of this hubris, I feel like, in terms of naming.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to produce a cow and I'm going to call it a manatee because they're the sea cows.
What?
Yeah, manatees are like a nickname for a manatee is a sea cow. But, so I'm going to produce a cow and change the name of the morph to sea cow or manatee.
I would get it if the phenotype resembled that, but then we're way off. I
don't know. I just how does something that is called Honey Blast and Toffee equal the same phenotype? Like that those are two different colors in my brain.
Yeah, I don't know.
I lost you on that one.
Yeah, I don't get the naming hubris.
It's okay. Yeah, welcome back. Anyways. All right, where are we?
The calico or Waine Line Albino reticulated python is the only line of albino currently known that did not originate from a wild collected albino specimen. Instead, the Waine Line Albino can be traced back to Peter Falsham, imported calico reticulated python female collected in Sumatra, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Stuart Craig Waine, the founder of the line, first bred the female to a platinum reticulated python. The resulting progeny were exceptional examples of the platinum morph, with clean patterning and vibrant lemon yellow coloration. While the abnormally bright snakes weren't indicative of a possible new mutation, they piqued Waine's interest nonetheless. They later were determined to be heterozygotes for the Waine line of albino. The following year, Waine bred the calico female to a brindle tiger male, the name for a calico tiger that was heterozygous for Amelanistic. To his surprise, some of the resulting progeny were Amelanistic. This would have only been possible if the wild collected calico female was heterozygous for Amelanistic, an extremely rare occurrence.
Pretty crazy, right? To catch a calico in the wild and it be het for amel. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. And then, breeding back and finding that is even crazier.
However, that was not the end of the story. Let's continue. So several months after selling some of the Amelanistics, Waine got a phone call from someone I sold one to saying his had turned color. I thought he must have been joking as the ones I kept were still Amelanistic looking, but over the months, they slowly changed to a pale blue pigment. Instead of these snakes being simple Amelanistics, they were slowly showing themselves to be something completely different. These were the first Waine Line Albino and Amelanistic crosses. So I think, I don't like reading too much verbatim, but I feel like this is a story that I don't want to stop here.
Fine by me.
So because of this, Waine knew the calico was carrying an albino form. I thought maybe one of our offspring from her first clutch maybe had a chance of carrying her albino strain. So I paired the calico with her offspring, and again she produced albinos. At this time, the Waine Line Albino had not been isolated in its homozygous form. By breeding the calico female's son back to her, Waine hoped to finally do so. The progeny from this pairing resulted in more albinos that changed colors with age, albeit different than the previous Waine Line Albino and Amelanistic crosses. These first homozygous Waine Line albinos range from very pale blue pigment to a dark purple one. The following year, Waine repeated the pairing, cementing the heritability of his line of when more of the color-changing albinos hatched. Take over.
In following years, Waine bred the female calico to a golden child that was heterozygous for Clark Strain Albino and a wild collected type 3 albino from Sumatra. Neither of these clutches produce compound heterozygous forms of albinism, indicating that the Waine Line Albino is incompatible with Clark Strain Albino and type 3 albino. The calico female's final clutch for Waine occurred when he bred her to a strange brown-colored blonde male. This resulted in more compound heterozygous albinos, proving Waine Line Albino to be compatible with blonde albino, in addition to the previously determined amelanistic. While some thought this proved to be the Waine Line Albino, lost my spot. While some thought this proved the Waine Line Albino to be the same as blonde, with age, the compound heterozygous developed a color atypical for blonde albino, though somewhat similar. Unfortunately, a few Waine Line albinos exist in captivity setting today, and the few that do are in Europe.
Of course, right? Naturally. And I think it's interesting because the Waine line was compatible with blonde and amelanistic. And again, if you take a blonde and an amel together, you create Rhapsody, right? So it looks like the three of those lines of albinos were all compatible with each other, kind of like a Clark strain, right? There's three compatibilities of Clark strain. There was three of this, this thruple.
Yeah.
So this is my favorite part. Additionally, there have been claims of reticulated pythons from Tana Jampea that exhibit albinism. Bullshit. However, public proof of its existence or progeny have yet to be presented. While it is likely that albinism has spontaneously arisen in MR jampianus, there's no evidence that one has been found in their native habitat or captive settings. Instead, the albino dwarf and superdwarf reticulated pythons in captivity are subspecies crosses. So it's kind of like
going back to the original Clark strain stuff that was bred into jampianus.
Right. It's kind of, those statements are the same thing of like OGS was found on Jampea, or, anthrax was founded on Solaire. It's all not true. Okay, we're almost wrapping up on albino.
I just saw something drop off my mic, and I am wondering if it was a box elder bug, because we've been getting a ton lately, but that was weird. Can't see anything. Sorry, distracted.
No, that's okay.
Let's see. Due to the nature of the importation process, the exact locality from which wild-caught morphs were found is often unknown, vague, or misrepresented. Simply because an example of a certain mutation has been found in the wild at a certain location does not mean that the captive representations of that morph belong to that locality type. The only circumstance where that does not apply is when the proper locality information for the morph is known and then bred to another animal of the same locality type. That circumstance is exceedingly rare.
Yeah, there's people in Indonesia and Europe that are actually doing that, right? There's, animals that they're getting from Sumatra that are morphed that they're taking to pure Sumatrans, right? And they're trying to keep that pure, which I think is awesome. I wish that we had more access to doing that here in the US, but we don't.
Yeah, I think if we knew if we had access to the internet and still had access to importation, I think both Indonesian, Malaysian, Philippine keepers would all have a little bit more desire to do pairings like that.
Yeah.
And then be able to import animals for a higher price, I would imagine.
Yeah.
They'd create their own lines with even more complicated names.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But before we move on, a quick little breakdown of the Waine Line Albino. Originated from a calico female from Sumatra and bred by Stuart Craig Waine. The babies change color with age from pale blue to a dark purple. It's not compatible with Clark or Type 3, and only a few Waine Line Albinos still exist in captivity, although in Europe.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really wraps up the albino part, but one thing that we didn't do at the beginning that I was really impressed that you did the entire time I was gone. Boom. Cold-blooded cafe.
Yeah, I was pretty good at that, wasn't I?
You were spot on with it before. Every single time you brought someone on, you did it. But shout out to Des at Cold-Blooded Cafe. Use our code Reptile Lounge 20 for 20% off on your first order. I got a big order coming my way tomorrow. Get your rodents from them, get your quail from them, get your other feeders that they sell from them. By far the cleanest rodents that I've gotten my hands on. Big fans of them. But Nate, we were able to wrap up albinos in an hour.
I am shocked.
I'm shocked too. We got through it. It was complex. There was a lot of stuff going on, but I can honestly say after rereading the chapter and going through it, I now know more about albinos and retics.
Yeah, and it gets confusing when there's 14 plus lines in albinos, and then you get into the genetic incompatibility. It's just like, holy crap.
What we should have done is tried to find a single picture of each of every single different albino, and that would have been the entire thumbnail. Like all the different albinos thrown together.
Adler would have loved us for that.
He would have hated us.
The one thing that I did like in this chapter that made it somewhat a little bit more digestible before I kind of broke it down a little further was, and I'll try to get a decent picture of this, but my camera's not as fancy as Lucas's, is right here is just kind of a chart of all the 14 plus known strains of albino and how they interact with each other. Yeah. And if they are compatible, what they produce.
Yeah, Glenn did a good job with creating that.
Yeah.
Okay, so 14 plus albino lines of retics, many genetically incompatible. Most names are marketing, not scientific, and always research genetics, not just appearance or label. Those are the main takeaways for this section of the chapter.
Yeah. What are we jumping into next?
In the book, we're jumping into hypo, black stripe. We're jumping into a lot of stuff that's not found in the U.S., which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, clown, which I wish we had access to, which is like really cool. The Harley Quinn stuff. Yeah. I think I'm hopeful, Lucas. If we were able to get through that much and that dense of information on just albino, next book club, we're going to wrap up this morph chapter and be able to fly through the end of this book.
Yeah, we're once we finish this, we're on the home stretch. We're almost there.
Yep, we're getting close.
Before we sign out, want to give a huge shout out to our Patreon members. I've been able to stay active in the chat while I've been gone away from podcasting. Thank you, all of you, for all of your continued support. Most of our members have been there from nearly the beginning. It's been popping over the last month. Love you guys. Thank you so much for just like hanging out with us on Sundays, which we'll do again this week. So yeah, if you guys are listening to this on Friday or Saturday as it releases and you want to join us Sunday for our Zoom call, go to that link below, patreon.com/the Retic Lounge. Join for $5 a month and you get access to our Discord and our bi-monthly Zoom calls.
I may or may not be present on that one. We'll see. I have a lot going on this week prepping for a camping trip. I hope to sit down and be able to record before I go on that, but we'll just see. Lucas might have to take the reins again.
Yeah. I don't mind doing it if we need to, but yeah. Nate, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
All right.
I'm glad that we were able to knock this out so concisely. So
Yeah.
welcome back, Lucas.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone, we will catch you next week on episode 138. 138.
8.
Yep. All right. See you, everyone.
See ya.